While I've been out here blowing the leaves, I just keep on thinking, like, my main goal is to get them off the rocks, off the road, like off into the grass. And then once they move, they kind of go where they want, and then I can work with them a lot easier to get them where I actually need them to go. I really feel like that's how God works on a lot of us. It is such a beautiful day outside, so I have the kids outside playing and I'm doing some yard work. What are you doing? That's not how you go down steps. What are you doing? Yay! High five. Good job. Bye. As I've been working, I have just started thinking about our life and our friend's life that we're gonna be throwing a going away party for this week. And I'm out here blowing leaves off of our rocks that line our driveway. And it just got me thinking about how God moves in our lives. Hi, Miss Chloe. How are you? You wanna use that? You can play with it for a little bit. Woo! I'll do it in just a second. Are you turning around? I think that was a yes. My older kids are out on their first bike ride together, so we have radios and they're sticking together. So I'm pretty excited that a little bit more freedom that they had. While I've been out here blowing the leaves, I just keep on thinking, like, my main goal is to get them off the rocks, off the road, like off into the grass, like beyond the rocks. But in order to get them there, I have to first just start kind of blowing them around and get them to at least even move. And because some of them are just like so stuck, sometimes they need a lot more power and a lot more work to get them even started moving. And then once they move, they kind of go where they want, and then I can work with them a lot easier to get them where I actually need them to go. I really feel like that's how God works on a lot of us. Like, it's so easy to just get stuck in our routine and stay where we are and want to be comfortable and just live a content life and don't really want to be bothered. I know I fall in that too. So while I'm blowing these leaves off and thinking about that, I'm like, Lord, where am I stuck? Where do I need to start moving? And what do I need to start trusting you in and following you in, instead of just wanting to have this nice, comfortable life? I feel like I was a lot better at wanting to move and like wanting the adventure that God had me on before I became a mom. And I don't know what it is about having kids. I feel like it's a really big responsibility. So I feel like part of me is like, God, like, I have enough. I've got kids now. I don't need an adventure anymore. This is an adventure enough. But what does that teach them? What does that teach them about my faith and about how God works and what His will is for their lives? Being out here got me thinking of our family story, of how Tim was a youth pastor for 12 years and how there was a big shift in that, and the way that God started getting us to move to be where we are right now and in the vocation that we're in right now. It wouldn't have happened unless God really stirred us up and stirred up our lives and got us thinking in a different direction. If things weren't as hard as they were in that shift, I think we would probably still be in vocational ministry right now, because that's all we could see at that time. And God really stirred the waters for us and really blew the leaves around in our life and just shifted everything, and it was good. It was hard and we didn't know it in the time. But now looking back on it, it's been really cool. One part of our story that these leaves right here were just making me think of, because they think that they need to go to the road, but I actually need them to go over there to the grass. And while we were preparing for our family to move from Minnesota several years ago, we were actually on our way to Texas. We had our U-Haul, reserved and routed to Texas. And I think 2 weeks before we were supposed to move from Minnesota, Tim got a phone call from a man in the Cincinnati area and said, "Hey, I want you to come out. I have a position in my company that I think you would be perfect for." So he flew Tim out, and that's where Tim caught a vision for our family that would look completely different than we used to live. And he came back talking more about how this man led his family than any information on the job. And with that, we were just like, okay, we need to move to Cincinnati.
So guess what, guys? Today I accepted a new job position officially. We are going to, in a couple months, end up living in Cincinnati, Ohio. This is kind of intimidating and a little bit scary because I've never done anything other than vocational ministry since I was a teenager myself. So moving outside the church is going to be different for me. Here we go.
The first time I went to Cincinnati was our first night staying here, went all of our stuff. So we rerouted our U-Haul and brought all of our stuff here instead of Texas. Our move to Cincinnati, I don't think would have happened if we weren't already on our way. Like, we had most of our stuff already packed up, and we already had in our minds that we were leaving Minnesota. And so our hearts were ready for a change. And I think that really helped us. Like, even though we thought we were going in one direction, and just the fact that we were ready and we were in motion helped us to be able to shift a lot easier and go into a different direction. The beginning of that is just being open and saying, God, like, whatever you want, wherever you want me, take us. I'm open. I want to follow you and go where you lead. So as we're here and we're working on this land in this beautiful home that we have been in for less than a year, and if it was up to us, we would never move again from this place. For the foreseeable future, this is where our home's gonna be. This is where we'll raise our kids, maybe greet some grandkids at this house. But on the other hand, we're holding it with open hands, because if God wants us to leave this place and he wants us to go somewhere else, following him is way more important. So just thinking of these rocks and the road and the grass over there, my Bible study right now, we're talking about Psalm 23 and how the Lord leads us to green pastures. And I feel like a lot of time when we're in these rocks and things are so hard, when we start moving, we're like, okay, Lord, like, I want to follow your will. I want my desires to be your desires. And we start moving and we end up over here on this nice smooth road. Like, it feels good. Like, you get a break. Like, okay, we've been moving a little bit. Life's been a little bit rough. Like, now we're gonna rest for a little bit. But then it's still not exactly, it's not the best that God has for us. But I feel like he is so kind and gentle that sometimes he'll let us rest for a little bit somewhere smooth, give us a little bit of time, settle down a little bit, and then when we're ready to start moving again, maybe we get to move straight in over to the green pastures. Maybe we have to go back into a little bit of a rocky area again and rock life a little bit more before we finally end up over in the green pasture. Everybody's lives are so different, and all of our faith journeys are so different. And that's something that I try to remind myself of. Like, just because your faith journey doesn't look like mine doesn't mean that mine is right and yours is wrong, or yours is right and mine is wrong. God uses different things to reach us the way that we need to be reached, because he knows our intimate, most inner parts, and he knows how to reach us the best. And I just love it. So I'm so thankful for being able to look back and see those times in my life and see how he has moved, and just the grace that he has had, that he has not forgotten me and he has not given up on me. And I love all the different journeys, because I feel like that's so many different ways that we get to see God's glory, and each of us have a different journey that we're on in our faith. So right now I just keep thinking of like, where do I need to trust? What areas of my life do I need to work on? Do I need to hand over to Him and completely trust Him in? And I know one area very clearly right now that I need to work on, and that's a hard one. It's one that I have been hanging on to for a while, and so I need to let that go, and I need to figure out how to get to those green pastures, and how do I just trust Him in this part of my life, so I don't have to stay on these rocks anymore and be my normal stubborn self that I just take a little bit longer to learn. But how do I finally get over there to that green pasture? One thing I noticed over here, where I've been calling it my green pasture, look, we got some signs of spring here. And all around it is not as pretty, but all of this stuff helps this to be able to come back and grow. The green pastures that we're going to experience here before Jesus comes are not all beautiful and easy and comfortable. And in fact, we weren't called to live a comfortable, easy life here. I think living in America, it's far too easy to fall into the expectations of my life should be easy and my life should make me happy all the time. And we lose sight of the gifts that God has given us and our purpose. So although our green pasture isn't all green right now, there is a lot of parts that should have a lot of fruit, and they're going to be looking awesome, and they're going to be growing. And I feel like getting over here and allowing the Lord to move you and grow you, I think that's where our green pasture is right now, is being able to be in a position to have life.